When I walked into the living room and saw my $4,000 work laptop missing, I assumed I'd been robbed. Turns out I had. By my own dad. "It's not a big deal," he said, waving me off. "You work too much anyway. It's Christmas. Loosen up." I blinked. "You what?" "I sold it. Got a good price too." "And where's the money?" He nodded at the smug idiot sitting on our couch, my sister's boyfriend, Liam, a guy who hadn't worked a full-time job in 3 years. He was holding up a new PlayStation 5 and a gold bracelet like he won a sweepstakes. "Wanted to make him feel like family," Dad said. "He's going through a rough patch." I laughed. "What? Hello?" "That was my work system. My contracts, my client backups." "You should be thankful," he snapped. "I probably saved you $1,000 in electricity bills." "Take a breath." I turned to Mom. She didn't flinch. "Maybe this is your chance to stop being selfish. Sacrifice a little. Like a good child. Your sister needs help more than you do." She said it like I wasn't even in the room. I stared at the spot where my laptop used to sit. Then I walked out the door. Not in defeat. In strategy. Because I wasn't just going to get my laptop back. I was going to make them earn what they took. I didn't scream. Didn't argue. Didn't even text my so-called parents for the next 2 days. Instead, I did what every undervalued good child learns to do. I observed. First stop, my cloud backup. Thank God I had enabled autosync. I was able to salvage most of my data, including contract drafts, legal docs, tax filings, and something else. Something they didn't know I had. Purchase history. See, that laptop wasn't just expensive. It was tied to my LLC. The one I formed 2 years ago when I started building automation systems for e-commerce warehouses. I'd bought that system under business credit, not personal. Which meant what my dad did wasn't just petty. It was financial sabotage. The next day, I walked into the electronics store where he claimed to have sold it. The manager knew me by name. "Mason, man. I'm really sorry." He said you told him to pawn it. He handed me the transaction receipt. Dad had signed my name. Badly. And used my business ID to complete the sale. My blood went cold. I wasn't mad anymore. I was focused. Because now I had 2 things. Proof of identity theft. And a legit case for civil damages. But I wasn't going to file a lawsuit yet. I had a different plan. A better plan. And it started with Liam's new toys. Liam's new PS5 and gold bracelet were more than just overpriced gifts. They were leverage. So I played dumb. Congratulated him on his upgrade. Even complimented the bracelet, calling it clean. He smirked like a toddler who thinks he's smarter than the room. "Your dad hooked me up, man. It's all love." All love. He had no idea. While he was busy flexing on Instagram, I was in the background screenshotting every post, especially the one where he tagged my dad and captioned it, "Best Christmas plug ever." I filed it with my growing evidence folder. Then I made 2 quiet phone calls. First, my business attorney Josh. Second, a friend at the local small claims division. The next morning I walked into the electronics store again, not for the laptop, but to check one detail, the transaction code on Liam's PlayStation. Yep. My dad used my LLC card. He had officially spent company money without my permission, on a gift for someone not even family. Meaning? Tax fraud. Now it wasn't just civil damages. Now it was IRS reportable. That night, I printed every receipt, every screenshot, every statement, and sealed it in a manila envelope. Then I did something bold. I put that envelope on the dining table before dinner, and I sat there, smiling, waiting for them to notice. When they did, my dad's face drained of color. Mom asked, "What's this?" I said nothing, because what came next was going to hurt. My dad opened the envelope like it was a prank. His face twisted as he saw the receipts, the screenshots, the bank statement, and then the highlighted line showing my LLC being used to buy Liam's PS5. "What is this supposed to be?" he asked, trying to play dumb. I didn't flinch. "It's your confession." He laughed. "You're joking." "No," I said quietly. "That's a compiled report of theft, identity misuse, and unauthorized use of company funds. The legal term is embezzlement. I sent a copy to my lawyer this morning. And a second one to the IRS fraud unit." The room fell silent. Even my sister's freeloading boyfriend stopped mid-bite. Mom's voice cracked. "You wouldn't do that, to family?" "You already did," I said, nodding at my empty laptop spot. "This isn't revenge. It's restitution." Dad shoved the papers aside and stood. "We'll figure this out. No need to escalate." "I'm not here to negotiate," I replied. But I will give you a choice. I pulled out a second envelope, this one thinner. A written confession. Pay me back the $4,000. Public apology to my clients. And never touch my business again. And if I don't? He challenged. I leaned back, calm as steel. Then you'll have fun explaining to the IRS why you committed business fraud. For a PlayStation. Liam's voice finally broke the silence. Bro. I didn't sign up for this. I turned to him and smiled. Oh, Liam, we're just getting started. The next morning, Liam was gone. Vanished. Took the PlayStation, the bracelet, and even my sister's emergency credit card, which I only found out when she burst into my room crying. He maxed it out, she sobbed. And he blocked me. I looked at her. You mean, he used you? After Mom and Dad used me? Color me shocked. You don't have to be cruel. I raised an eyebrow. You laughed when Dad sold my laptop. She went silent. Later that day I received a ping on my phone, $4,000 deposited into my account. No note. No apology. Just, the money. I knew what that meant. Dad was trying to make it disappear. Pay off the damage and pretend it never happened. But I wasn't finished. Not yet. Because this wasn't about the money anymore. This was about how they saw me. Like I was some robot they could drain until there was nothing left. So I took it one step further. I posted a polite but pointed LinkedIn article titled, What It Means When Your Own Family Commits Business Fraud Against You. I didn't name them. But I didn't have to. Everyone in our circle knew exactly who I was talking about. The article went viral in our town's professional community. Clients messaged me with support. Colleagues offered referrals. But it was Mom's text that sealed it. You embarrassed us. In front of everyone. I stared at the screen. And I smiled. By New Year's, the silence in the house was radioactive. Mom barely spoke to me. Dad stayed locked in his office. My sister? She just walked around red-eyed like she couldn't believe Liam ghosted her. But I wasn't interested in their grief. I was building. My inbox was full of new inquiries. Referrals. Consulting offers. Even a TEDx invitation. All because of one article. And then it happened. I got a call from Thomas Whitaker, senior VP of one of the firms Dad had been pitching for months. We'd met once before, but I never thought he remembered me. Mason, he said. Saw your post. Brilliantly handled. We've been needing someone with your automation experience. I smiled slowly. Funny, I said. I think my dad was trying to pitch your team? He was. Keyword, was. That word echoed. Was. By the end of that week I had a signed consulting deal. High six figures. I moved out the same day, quiet, fast and final. Mom tried to guilt trip me. You're leaving your family behind? No, I said calmly. You left me behind when you taught me I was only valuable when I sacrificed myself. Dad didn't even come to the door. He knew. And that was enough for me. But what they didn't know. I wasn't done yet. Because while they lost a pawn, I just became the king. 1 week after moving out, I got a text from my mom. We need to talk. It's important. I ignored it. An hour later, another. Your father's in trouble. That client of his pulled the deal. Please come by. Just for a minute. I didn't reply. But I did pull up the client list my dad used to brag about over dinner. And one name stood out. Wellington Industrial. They were featured in the local paper that week. Not for expansion but for backing out of a questionable partnership, after reviewing a certain LinkedIn article. Turns out, reputation matters in this town, especially when your son is the one now consulting for your rivals. That night my sister called. Her voice was small. Dad might lose the house. I said, maybe next Christmas he'll think twice before trading his son's tools for someone else's boy toy. She hung up. It wasn't bitterness. It was clarity. I hadn't burned bridges. I'd simply stopped carrying the people who loved setting me on fire. A week later I got an invitation. A charity gala hosted by Thomas Whitaker's firm, black tie only. I walked in alone. But not unnoticed. My parents were there too. And when they saw me shaking hands with Whitaker, their jaws dropped. They weren't angry. They were afraid. Because now, I wasn't just successful. I was untouchable. I stood near the bar, sipping my drink, surrounded by CEOs and partners, when I heard a familiar voice behind me. Son. I turned slowly. My father looked older. Deflated. Like the weight of everything had finally settled on him. My mother clutched his arm, her expression softer than I remembered. We wanted to say congratulations, she offered as if we hadn't just spent a year at war. I nodded, tight-lipped. Thanks. Dad glanced around. You're really making something of yourself. I always was, I said. You just couldn't see it without a price tag attached. He opened his mouth then closed it. Mom tried again. Maybe we could start over. Dinner sometime? I smiled, not cruelly, just honestly. Dinner sounds great, I said. But not at your place. Her brows furrowed. Why not? Because, I said, stepping back, I don't visit crime scenes. They froze. And I walked away. That night I returned to my apartment. Quiet, clean, mine. I booted up my new laptop. Fully paid, high-end, faster than anything Dad ever bought. I logged into my banking app. 6 figures in savings, pending contracts, and a waiting list of clients. But more than that, peace. Not silence. Not bitterness. Just peace. They taught me I was disposable. So I showed them what happens when the disposable one starts building in silence. Not to prove a point, but to build a life where no one else gets to hold the keys.